Of all positions on a football field, quarterback clearly has the most impact on the game. While a wide receiver may touch the ball around 5 times a game, if it's a good game, the quarterback touches the ball every single time. But with San Francisco, everyone's trying to downplay the impressive play of Brock Purdy due to his draft status, his size, or some other totally arbitrary reason. However, Purdy is playing like an MVP. Yesterday, for example, Purdy had a perfect passer rating in only his second year, and the only other Niners quarterbacks to ever accomplish that feat were Steve Young and Joe Montana, both Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But if I put Purdy on the same level as Patrick Mahomes this year, people would riot. But the fact is he is. And I plan to prove it throughout examining his historic performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The initial play we have to look at is what everyone says Brock Purdy can't do, and that's throw it deep. But on this play, Purdy has the deepest touchdown pass of any quarterback across the entire NFL. And what I love here is how Purdy identifies it's in man coverage and the placement of the ball. You can't lead Brandon Aiyuk better than this. It's a 76-yard pass, and if you watch where Purdy's throwing it, he identifies it and takes the shot immediately. Purdy is clearly a quarterback who can throw it deep, and the narrative of him not being able to throw deep is just inaccurate. And many people are maybe just comparing him to Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's a complete different quarterback that's willing to take risks time and time again, but they're always well thought out risks, and he's never afraid. But as you and I both know, there's more to the quarterback position than just throwing huge bombs. So let's jump into Brock Purdy's tape. Initially, Purdy is able to quickly diagnose what this defense is doing, which is cover 2. Secondly, he can quickly identify the correct target, which is George Kittle coming across on a crosser or a dig route, whatever you want to call that route. And then what's most impressive to me here is the touch Purdy's able to put on the ball. George Kittle has to be outstretched to get this ball, but if he put it any lower, it's clear the linebacker would have picked it. And this touch is something many quarterbacks can never gain across their whole entire career. Following drive, we would see San Francisco attack the middle once again, but this time utilizing play action, but a similar type dig or crosser route. But pay attention where Purdy is starting his throwing motion. This anticipation is what makes it so Purdy doesn't need a cannon for an arm, or has to be the best quarterback athletically. He's the best quarterback because he understands how to play the position and plays it at an extremely high level. Purdy is able to do this because he's able to quickly diagnose what the defense is doing. On this play, they're running man, and he goes to his man beater in George Kittle on that whip route. But on the following play, the very next play, they move out of man coverage and go ahead and move into zone. But nonetheless, on third down, Purdy doesn't panic and quickly identifies his target, Christian McCaffrey, coming out of the backfield, and hits him for an easy pickup, an easy first down. That just keeps the chains churning, and this is going to lead to a touchdown later on. But before we get to that touchdown, let's focus on this play. Brandon Aiyuk is running a similar type of dig or crosser route that we've seen before, but focus on this ball placement by Brock Purdy. His accuracy is insane. I mean, I couldn't walk the ball and hand it to Brandon Aiyuk better than Purdy placed it there. But maybe just as important to a quarterback is the marriage between the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, or head coach in this case. And Purdy is the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan. He hits the so-called easy gimme plays, but also takes advantage of those huge bombs as we saw earlier. Following drive, San Francisco would once again go across the middle with Brandon Aiyuk coming in motion on this crosser route. But maybe what's most important to me here is how much Kyle Shanahan is trusting Brock Purdy to attack the middle of the field. The middle of the field is a dangerous place for a quarterback because if it gets tipped, like you saw the linebackers almost do on this play, it could be an interception, and a treacherous one at that. But Purdy made limited mistakes throughout this entire game, and that's a big reason for his perfect passer rating. Purdy's next drive was a strong one once again, but here, pay attention to how Purdy has a line collapsing around him, but nonetheless delivers an absolute dime to Brandon Aiyuk, who went off throughout this entire game. From the end zone angle, we can see this even better. Purdy gets immediate pressure up the middle, as well as from number 9 on Colt McKivit's side, but he stays calm and delivers the pass. Purdy is constantly doing this. His eyes are always looking for the big play down the field. Purdy later on the same drive, we would see get pressured once again. but see how he's getting drilled and delivers an absolute dime once again. Purdy is one of those rare quarterbacks that doesn't care if he gets hit, but just cares if he makes the play. This is something Purdy has been struggling with all season. The offensive line is in the back half of the league in pass protection, but Purdy is number 1 in QBR and passer rating by a large margin. Out of the second half, we saw the trust Kyle Shanahan placed in his young quarterback Brock Purdy. He's running a play action pass with Purdy in the end zone, but nonetheless, Purdy quickly finds George Kittle for the pickup. But what's impressive to me here is the relationship between Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. Kyle struggled, it seems like, in the past with trust issues with the quarterback, but he definitely trusts Brock Purdy. And can you blame him? Purdy is a high reward, low risk quarterback. He's looking for the deep shot like on this play, but he's turning over the ball very little. Other reason why I think the marriage between Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy has been so successful is Brock Purdy's ability to turn his back to the defense on these play action passes and then not get flustered when he sees defenders all over him, but rather just finds the open man, in this case George Kittle. On the same drive, we would see Brock Purdy eliminate a bad habit he had last year, which was rolling out of the back of the pocket. Rather, we see him step up and find Deebo Samuel for a huge gain. This is something that elite quarterbacks do. If Patrick Mahomes had a game like Brock Purdy had, everyone would be calling for MVP. And right now, I'm calling for MVP for Purdy. This drive, Purdy would cap it off with a touchdown to his tight end, George Kittle. And that makes 3 different targets for each of his touchdowns on the day. Many people will just say this is play design and Purdy doesn't deserve credit. He is the one to find George Kittle in the back of the end zone and throw this pass. And throughout the day, he consistently made plays. As I said, Purdy is usually looking for the pass down the field. But on this play, he understands he can pick up the first down. His field awareness is like a 99 overall. Right here, Purdy takes off and his 1.55 10-yard split is the same as Christian McCaffrey's, so he's deceptively fast. Another crazy aspect about Brock Purdy's game is how well he's able to change his arm angles. On this play, he's immediately pressured as Tampa Bay was bringing a pretty aggressive blitz. But nonetheless, you'll see how Purdy kind of alters his arm angle to avoid the pressure right in his face and connect with George Kittle. Throughout this video, I tried to dispel several rumors about Brock Purdy. One of the biggest ones, that Brock Purdy just can't throw deep. But this is obviously not the case. We consistently see week in and week out Brock Purdy hitting some of these deep passes outside the numbers. Another rumor we've heard is Brock Purdy fell in the draft because he's not athletic enough. But Purdy is sneaky athletic, and he didn't give enough props he deserved coming out of college. So for me, while many people will just write off Brock Purdy as a product of the system, he's a franchise quarterback and an MVP candidate at that. But even if you don't believe Brock Purdy deserves the MVP, I think everyone can agree Brock Purdy at least deserves to be the comeback player of the year. He played lights out this entire season so far, and he's actually playing better than his rookie season. Despite many people saying once teams get more film on him, he'll be figured out. But the truth is, Brock Purdy won't be figured out that way. His S2 cognition is elite, and the founder of that S2 cognition test said Brock Purdy will never have a problem understanding what the defense is doing to him. And so far, he looks right. But these are just my thoughts on the performance that put Brock Purdy next to Steve Young and Joe Montana in their record books. And I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribe. And as always, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.